What's up, guys? Today we're going to check out 1986's Aliens on 4K UHD. I'm not going to get into how good or bad the movie is. I'm just going to share some of my thoughts on the audio and video quality. Now let's go over a few tech specs. The movie was shot on 35mm. It's got a 4K DI. It's rated R. Runtime is 137 minutes. Aspect ratio is 185:1, and the audio is in Dolby Atmos. Now, if you don't know what the Dolby Atmos viewer is, there's a link in this video's description that tells you all about it, and also a list of gear that's used for this review. Now, this was obviously not originally in Dolby Atmos when it first came out, so this is a newly remixed soundtrack that puts the overhead channels to good use. At 35 minutes, 45 seconds in, you'll be surrounded with rain coming from the lower channels, but also over your head. I did think that this sounded kind of more like high-pitched static rather than rain, which I didn't feel was all that natural sounding. Although you do get a full immersive effect. This mix is mostly a static one that's locked in a 7.14 layout for about 99.9% of the time. So if you've got wide channels, extra side surrounds, 6 overheads, or center surround channel, they won't get used much, if at all. With 6 overhead channels, only the top middle will engage, so making a dedicated 4 top channel preset in your processor or AVR will engage the top and rear overhead channels. That said, there were a few moments where dynamic objects do come into action. At 1 hour 36 seconds in, you can hear the flamethrower swirling through the surround channels and the overheads, and this happens pretty much every time flamethrowers are used. At 1 hour 32 minutes and 53 seconds, you can hear the facehugger run from the center surround channel counterclockwise up to the second right surround channel. It's subtle but creepy sounding. There's maybe 3 or 4 other times with flamethrowers and rain that get the dynamic treatment, but this is mostly a static 11-channel mix. As for bass response, there's nothing really special happening here. Most of the time when I hear new remixes from the 80s and older, a lot of the effects aren't as robust as new native Atmos mixes are. The machine guns came across more treble heavy rather than having that mid-bass slam that we're all accustomed to with more modern mixes, and the bass can sometimes sound thin and hollow. I think the best subwoofer usage comes when Ripley jumps in the work loader. You can really feel the bass hitting your room, rumbling the floor every time she takes a step. Other than that, I felt that this mix sounded dated with good immersion and had a fairly spacious soundstage, and the dialogue was always easy to hear throughout. I want to send a thank you to Kaleidoscape for supplying me with this copy of Aliens 4K to bring you, the home theater movie loving community, this 4K review. I also have the 4K Blu-ray on hand, and they do look and sound exactly the same. So if you don't have a Kaleidoscape, you'll get the same experience on physical media disc. If you do want to get a Kaleidoscape, you can get one at our channel partner Dream Media. Links found in this video's description. As for video quality, we got a T2 situation here. I'm just kidding. It's better than that, but also kind of the same. I've been so used to seeing Aliens with full-on film grain, which I think adds to the gritty nature of this movie. Its dark, dank, gritty environments and the gritty texture of film really added to the visual aesthetic. Well, with this new remaster, they had Park Road Productions do the AI upscaling, which adds in additional detail and sharpness while also cleaning up most of the film grain, giving us a more clean, super clean digital presentation that makes it look like the movie was shot digitally yesterday. Some folks are really gonna love it, while others are gonna lament it. If you've never seen it before, you might think this was shot recently. So there is some crazy good AI detail here. Edges are sharp and crispy for the most part, with the occasional jaggy here and there that might bother some, but it's got overall a lot more detail over the older releases. Where this extra resolution and detail I felt hindered the experience was when the soldiers go into the aliens' lair. All the aliens' secretions and Giger-esque design pieces now felt like they were on a film set with man-made props hanging off the walls. The 1080p version with the film grain intact would mask that cleanliness and add a layer of grittiness to that environment. Now, that's just my personal take on it, and you may very well like that extra detail. Along with this new digitally clean look, there are a lot of times that get that overly clean, waxy appearance that we saw on Terminator 2. It's not as bad as T2's transfer, but be aware that it's there. And also, there's some motion smearing, so when objects or people are in motion, it'll look blurred until said object stops moving. I thought it looked terrible in the Lord of the Rings transfer, but it's not as intrusive in this one. As for the HDR, it's a dark movie with great looking black levels. The color palette has a cooler, more bluish tint to it, while skin tones remain warm. It's mostly blacks, grays, and muted colors, so this will not be a bright HDR showcase. Although the flames at the end of the movie do have some nice vibrancy and pop, but nothing that's going to make you want to whip this out to impress your friends with. Overall, I am on the fence on this one. I appreciated all the extra detail that they were able to put back in this transfer, while at the same time, the dirty grittiness is now gone when they scrubbed away all the film grain, which just gives this movie a different feel. It also has a slightly unnaturally digitally processed look. I like it, while at the same time I sorta hate it, so I'm gonna have to give this transfer a 6.2. As for this new Atmos mix, yes, it sounds like a movie from the 80s with effects that are bright sounding, can somewhat sound hollow, and is also light on bass. The immersion factor does put your speakers to good use for most of the runtime, and as far as a decades-old audio mix goes, I would have to give this new Atmos mix a 6.9. Well, those are my thoughts on Aliens in 4K and in Dolby Atmos. Do you agree with my assessment of this transfer, or do you think I'm totally off? Leave your comments down below and let me know. Now, if you want to pick up this movie, I will leave some links for it down below in this video's description. As always, guys, thanks for watching. If you want, you can follow us on social media, and if you want to support the channel and get exclusive content or great discounts on audio and video gear, then stop by our Patreon page. Be sure to like this video if you found it useful, and subscribe if you have not already, and I will see you again in the next video.